Well, Bob Iger says there could be 7 lands. We're going to have to try to figure out where those are going to go. Avatar could be coming out west. The Dining app has a new update on the way, and we're going to give you a summary of March Madness all tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for March 10th, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you, as always, for being with us. We appreciate it. Happy Mario Day. If you have not already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content, and also give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find this. And tonight, look at this panel. This is amazing, starting with Stephanie. How are you?
I'm doing better. How are you?
Hanging on, and we appreciate you powering through. I'm good. Desi?
Hey, howdy, hey.
And Mr. Patrick Hackett. What's going on, buddy?
Recuse yourself, Desi!
Oh, Lord. We can't. So basically, we're going to be talking about March Madness here at the end. It's something that we do on News Tonight. And Desi was on it. I think she was on it. There was somebody wearing sunglasses the entire time. I assume that was so Desi. Bright. I don't really know.
Time
she's
Desi.
just.
It was Moana.
I want to be alone. Yeah, she's just like, no autographs, please. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us for the silliness. We appreciate it. So as I said at the top, we had a little bit about this on WDWNT.com that Bob Iger went out and talked to some folks at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference. Just rolls right off the tongue. And he said to these folks, we're going to be doing a lot of things, including we have land enough to build 7 new full lands at theme parks around the world. The part about that worries me, Patrick, is he says around the world. He didn't say in our backyard. He didn't say in Orlando. He didn't say it California. He said around the world. What do you think about that, man?
I mean, Epcot's not finished. Like, you built a college campus and didn't finish it in any reasonable amount of time. Universal's testing attractions that they started on, 3 years ago? While we still haven't finished tearing down buildings and rebuilding stuff. Around the world, 7 lands. Sure, Bob, sure. Hey, why don't you figure out if they're going to be a land or an area for Avatar in Disneyland before you keep running your mouth like this? I never thought I would dislike Iger coming as close to as much as I dislike JPEG.
Wow. Yeah. Them's fighting words. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Avatar thing in a second, because that's its own kerfuffle. Yeah. But you know what? I would love to have new lands, but Stephanie, I know that you probably saw D23 Expo and Destination D23, and Josh, he announced that they were going to be maybe doing something on the other side of Big Thunder and maybe doing something in Dino Land. But to me, if you're going to Dino Land and you're going to trash a land and then you're going to call like Encanto and Indy 2 new land, I hope he's not going to do that. Do you think that's what's going to happen here, or do you have other thoughts?
No, that's absolutely what's going to happen, if they even do what they originally said. I'm not as enthralled with Josh as you guys are, so I don't hold anything that he says to come to fruition. I agree. I think that it's going to be more overseas, although if you want to speak about mere land size and holdings, Orlando, I mean, my gosh, they have so much land down there. Why don't they open a 5th gate? Why don't they compete with Epic Universe coming? I don't know. They don't want to invest for some reason, and yet that is the flagship where we have a lot of international travelers coming to. So I don't know. Look out for Tokyo Disney and Disney Springs over there, that New Fantasy Springs. It's going to be kind of attractive to most folks, I think, in the future.
Yeah, Desi?
Well, I hope that Tokyo isn't included in that, because that wouldn't be taking any of the budget, theoretically, because wouldn't Oriental Land Company be paying for that? I think that when he says 7 new lands, he is including lands that would be replacing other lands, like whatever is going to replace Dino Land USA. So does that really count as a new land? It's not net new, it's just new to us, I guess.
Net new. I love that. Yeah, that's been my argument all along with Galaxy's Edge and, well, specifically Galaxy's Edge in Florida, but also with New Fantasyland. Both of those were expansions, but they trashed stuff to make them, so therefore they were really kind of replacements more than they were expansions.
What really constitutes a land? If we could take like a quick second, like, does Pandora feel like a land to everyone? Because it feels a little lacking. Same with, Galaxy's Edge. Is it enough to be a land? I don't know. It feels like a neighborhood to me. Like, I feel like Storybook Circus is a neighborhood of Fantasyland.
Storybook
what would
Circus
it be a
is
neighborhood of?
I don't know.
I mean, what would Galaxy's Edge be a neighborhood of?
I don't know. It just doesn't. Is it 2 attractions and like a table service and a counter service? Is that what we're saying constitutes a land?
That's what they're saying.
I think an overarching theme constitutes a land. So
okay.
That would be my argument there, but I don't disagree with you. I know that a lot of people feel like Avengers Campus is unfinished because there is this promise of some e-ticket that may be coming at some point. And so they're like, well, you should have finished that first. But I think that they opened it as a land, even if it didn't have web slingers, it would still be a land because it's themed. The entire area is themed to that. So I don't think there's a rule about attractions, unfortunately. I think that the rule should be 18 attractions and 4 sit-down restaurants. That would be if I could make those choices. I do need to tell you, though. Yeah, Desi's in. Yeah, okay, there you go. Patrick's not playing
as good as Shannon.
I know.
No, Shannon. Yeah. Shannon is key for this one. So we have a super chat from our good friend Jungle Cruiser. Rob, the first story should have been Disneyland running out of bubble wand solution. There was sheer panic in merchandise. Cast members loved your reaction, which was on Twitter. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at Rob S. Whiteside. Just a little plug there. But however, I will say I don't mind that because I love a happy kid in a theme park. I think that's great. But how much bubble solution have I swallowed over the years, like walking behind somebody who's got the bubble wand and it's just like coming at you hard. Like it's fun when it's Muppet Vision and it's one at a time, but when it's, I don't know. Am I wrong? Is it just me? It's just me. That's fine. Yes.
I'm the one with the 2 kids with the bubble wands.
And you're like,
my daughter sometimes double fist bubble wands. So
I was about to say, and both y'all are like, and I'll buy them 5 more if I have to. Whatever will make them happy.
The path. It's like, get out of the way.
Yeah. Thank you, Jungle Cruiser. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Let's go on to something that Patrick teased a little bit here is that the Avatar of the West. We heard, and this is one of those things where you would think they would have a conversation first and figure out what they were going to talk about. And this really isn't. This is just a communication issue, I think. But we know that at a shareholders meeting earlier, in like I think it was last year, they announced there would be an Avatar experience coming to California, as good as the experience or equivalent to the experience we have in Florida. Then somebody let loose, it's going to be in California Adventure, and we of course ran with that. And then they're like, no, we didn't really mean that. Whoever said that talked out of turn. And we're like, okay, so we know it's coming to California Adventure, but you don't want to admit that it's coming to California Adventure. That's fine. Then Bob went on to this call and said, yeah, we're going to have an Avatar land coming. And then they qualified that and said, no, it's not a land, it's an experience. So back to you on this one, Patrick. I mean, you're the one looking for qualifications of what makes a land.
Yeah,
what's an Avatar experience? To me, an Avatar experience would be they put up a tent in the parking lot.
Yeah. They're just gonna let you get a Banshee. That's all. That's the Avatar experience. They're gonna. Even like Lumpia. I imagine with the diverse population around Los Angeles, like Lumpia in LA is probably gonna be better than theme park Lumpia. I don't know. Is there space for them to put the full on attraction? That's a big show building. That's a really big show building, and Shaman of Songs doesn't seem to be able to work. What is this experience coming? And do people really want it? I mean, I guess it does well at the box office, but it's so underwhelming to me. A beautiful theme park attraction for such a D-level movie.
You're mean.
We should just talk and see how long it realizes until. Hey, Rob.
You're mean. Well, and on top of that, I'm realizing you didn't care to talk about this, so I'm going to move. But you did start into it though. I was going to say I feel like though it's one of those things where there's an aesthetic of Star Wars, Tron, cars that people love the land more than they do sometimes the movies. Like my son is not a huge Star Wars fan in watching the movie, but he's a Star Wars fan as far as like the merch and things like that. It's very strange to me. I don't understand it. But I feel like with this one, it's one of those where people seem to love the movie because it does well at the box office, but no one seems to admit that they go see this movie or like this movie. It's very strange. I don't know. Desi, do you love Avatar Land? Do you wish there was more?
I love Avatar Land at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I have not seen the second movie. I did not love the first movie, but I do love the land. I love the rides. Um, he said it's going to be quote unquote as amazing as what we have here in Florida. So if that's not a land, then what is it? How is it going to be as amazing? Because I don't love the Avatar movies, but they have made that land so amazing.
Yeah. And
What
theoretically,
are they
like
going to do?
I don't know that most people know this. I assume most people know this, that those rides are built in the same building. They're one on top of each other. That's why you go up the ramp to get into Flight of Passage because Navi River Journey is underneath. So also we've seen in the past when power goes out in one, it goes out in both because it's the same building. So they have one footprint for that. You would think that maybe that's something that they wouldn't just build Flight of Passage, that they would build both. But who knows? We'll see. We'll keep you posted, and hopefully Disney won't talk about this again until they know what they're doing. That's actually the bottom line on this. Let's talk about this app because everybody loves MDX, right? We all love MDX. It's like it's the perfect app. But one of the problems that we all have is reserving dining, and so I know that some people are I'll get up at 6 a.m. 60 days out. I know some of the people on this panel have said, go back to 90 days, go to 120 days out where I can reserve my food. I like to do it closer to time because usually I don't necessarily know that I'm going to Disney 6 months out or 3 months out or even 2 months out. But now they've got this new update to the app. First of all, the update that happened to the app last time, I already think is a game changer. But there's a new update to the app where they're going to be able to let you find a time slot across multiple days. So here's a picture of what it would look like. You're going to be able to pick like a window of when you'll be there. I'll be there Sunday through Tuesday.
I will be there then.
Find me a Space 220. Find me a Space 220 during then. Stephanie, I know that you have some thoughts on this one.
Yeah, they've done this a long time for Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, the Droid Depot, Savi's Workshop. They've done this for a while with those limited experiences, and maybe that's why, because they had the technology to do so, as we know that Disney's not great with technology, and dining is at such high demand, and there's so many restaurants. Maybe that was the problem before, but this was a long time. This is needed. This is a long time in coming. And I'm glad that you can put in your first day and then the end of your checkout day. Actually, you can still make dining reservations then too, and as long as it's within that 10-day period, and you can see what is available throughout that whole time frame. The problem comes, and this has happened to me yesterday, so I know that this is the problem. I was trying to do the capture your moment, which again, they have that same technology where you put in your first day and your end day, and you can see all throughout the available times. I clicked on a reservation time for 9:45, and it made me it kicked me out, so I had to sign back in. And once I signed back in, it said, "Oh, I'm sorry, your time's not available anymore." And I'm like, "Well, is it me that's still holding it, or is it somebody else that came in and grabbed it?" And so that annoys the crap out of me.
Yeah, when that happens to me at Alamo Cinemas, I know that I can wait a minute, go back in, and it'll be fine. For Disney, who knows how long they're going to hold
Right.
those for you, right? Yeah. Honestly, though, I've done this before where my family will think I'm just playing on my phone, but I'm really going into the app, picking a day, going through finding the time. Nope, it's not there. Go back. Pick the next day. Find the time. Nope, it's not there. Go, because I'm not going to be picky. If it's a restaurant we want to go to at the last minute, Space 220 or Roundup Barbecue or something that's hot right now, I mean, I'm going to keep working the app, and eventually you probably are going to have luck finding something. I love that this is something the app will do, and something else the app is like ready to do that we don't know when it's coming, is what other apps do, which is to alert you when there's an opening. Like, if other apps can do it, why aren't you doing it, Disney? I don't really get that.
Money out of their pockets.
Yeah, Des, you want to talk about this before we move on?
I wish that it wasn't necessarily just a date range, but can I pick individual days and say any Saturday and Sunday at some point in the next 3 months? What are the openings for Space 220 or one of the, more popular restaurants that are harder to get into? That would be more ideal for me, because I don't have like a set week that I'm going to be here.
Now you're just complaining because it doesn't do that? Come on. I'm just kidding. Patrick, do you want to round off before we go?
I think that's valid, because I think there's people like Desi who live within driving distance and would come and spend money if they had the specific thing that they were looking for. So I think that's valid. I'm really looking forward to it. When I got this, I was like, wait a minute, I haven't updated the app. I don't see any of these. So I went and checked, and I realized it's coming, because I am there during 1900 Park Fair's opening, and it is one of my all-time favorite restaurants. So I just, every now and then I get a down moment, and I'm just scrolling, seeing if there's any time. They could do better with this app in so many different ways. I'm glad they're trying, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, again, I think that the updates that is there now, where you go and you pick a window, is better than a meal. Because what I used to do is you'd go and you'd say, I want lunch. And then it would say there's nothing available. But if you went specifically to 3:30, it was available.
Yes.
It's like, wait, what? So this one, I feel like, has avoided that. I feel like I see more times for restaurants now. So again, to pat them on the back, this is a good thing, but I feel like they should have gotten there a while ago. They had COVID. They could have figured this out during that time. So again, kudos to them for the direction that they're moving in, but also there are still some glitches going on with this that make it a very frustrating system sometimes. So let's move on to Star Tours. This is really funny because we've been talking about this for a long time, and Desi, I'm going to come to you about this one first. Is that they've added, or that they have announced, that April 5th, good golly, that's soon, great, new scenes for Star Tours, including The Mandalorian and Andor and Ahsoka. The thing that I had a problem with on this one was they announced this at Star Wars Celebration 2022, that these were going to be in the works, and I thought Ahsoka would fall, I don't know, same day as when Ahsoka hit the theater. I mean, hit Disney Plus maybe, but no. And Mandalorian, we're finally getting Mandalorian. Again, Desi, I'm excited, but also at the same time a little frustrated that it's taken this long.
I'm just happy to get it at all. So, whatever with the timing at this point. But I'm just so happy and so excited. I need all of the Grogu I can get in my life. Super excited for that. I will go on Star Tours over and over and over again until I get the scenes that I want to get, which Star Tours right now is like a 5-minute wait or a walk on usually. So this might be more of a people eater if people want to go in and see the new scenes. Also, not quite as excited about the Andor ones, only because I've already had adventures with Cassian that I don't think can be topped when we did The Void at Disney Springs. So I still want them to bring that back. Please.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Void went away at exactly the wrong time. It was perfect timing that it went away at the wrong time. I don't understand it at all. Patrick, I'm going to throw this one to you, but I'm going to ask you, like, she's talking about rewriting it to try to get all the scenes. Do you think, I feel like when they first added like Batu ending scene, everyone got it. Do you feel like when you first get on this, will only get these scenes, or do you think that we'll have to like ride it 19 times?
I don't know. That's a really great question, Rob. Well done.
Thanks.
There.
Thanks.
I arrive April 5th, so I'll be happy to tell you, as my family will just miss me as I repeatedly ride Star Tours. I feel like every time they get an update, you do get inundated with the newness, and I think that's okay. and then maybe put it in less heavy rotation. This is something that should be happening all the time. I don't know why it's so difficult to take active sets that you're already shooting on and be like, hey, we need to do like 10 minutes for the ride and do that, because it seems like simple and easy and it should be done. And why haven't we had a new scene in Toy Story Midway Mania in decades?
Yeah, agree with that as well. Also, we have another super chat. This one is from Randy Newman. Thank you for the super chat. It says they need to close the +10 rule for ADRs. Too many making dummy placeholder hotel reservations and then canceling them once they have their ADR. Yes, that, and Stephanie, you're nodding your head off of your neck about that one.
Yeah, I'm probably part of that problem too.
Part of the problem. Oh yeah. No. Oh, I can guarantee, like, my sister-in-law was part of that problem, and it would be like, you know, there's like a term like stair-stepping it or something like that, your reservation, so you hold it here so that you can get the reservation. I agree. Yeah. Walking it. That's exactly what it is. I hate that, but I do love the super chat, so thank you, Randy Newman, for the super chat. I appreciate it. So let's move on to this one. This one, you know, I could say that, right? This is lit. I can get away with that? Yeah. No? Nobody? Okay, cool. They are doing projection mapping on topiaries. At first, when I saw this, I thought it was neon paint. Like, I thought, why is that special? But they're actually doing projection mapping on topiaries now, specifically this Dante topiary. And okay, I'm here for it. I think that's cool, as long as, like, there's no way, like, I don't know where the projection is coming from. Hopefully it's not somewhere I can reach, because I might start messing with it. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Again, I want to give kudos to Disney when we see stuff that we think is new and neat and different. And Patrick, is this first on your agenda when you get there or start?
Yeah, actually, it is. It is the first thing on my agenda is Flower and Garden. I arrive in the afternoon. We have a boardwalk hotel reservation, and we're going to hang out and do Epcot and hopefully make it all the way through with a nice rested 4-year-old and see some fireworks and see Dante all lit up. I want to tell you how excited I am for this and how awesome I think it is, but I would be remiss as someone on this network who is, you know, a talking head. Why doesn't it move? Could we get a little motion? But I think it's awesome, and I'm glad they're plussing stuff.
A world of motions. Nothing is ever good enough for you, is it? Oh,
no.
Lord.
If you're going to have a plant that moves, it should be Groot.
I mean, Groot plays music. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. They're doing things. I appreciate doing things. I want to push them to do more.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, the topiaries, the evolution of topiaries is crazy. It used to be, I think that looks like Bambi, to like now like the moss and the skin tone, and now projection mapping. Desi, are you excited about this, or again, it has to move, it has to do more?
No, I think it's super cute, and I'm glad that they're doing something to plus it. It does have neon, like, glowing paint as well, so it is a mix of both. So you get the beautiful paint during the day, you see it start to glow as the sun goes down, and then when it's completely dark, then you see the projection mapping lights. I think that's a really cute, neat idea, and I'm excited to see it. I'm sure my kids will get a kick out of seeing it, so... yeah, kudos to them for doing something new and interesting.
Let's say you were again, because we're daylight savings time started today, so it's going to be lighter out now for longer. Is this worth you, Desi, staying to the end of the day to show your kids, or like if you're done, you're just going to peace out, or you're like, no, we got to wait and see the projection mapping Dante before we go? I'm literally just curious.
If I was Patrick, I would probably stay because I know that I'm only going to be there for that 1 week. For me, my kids can go back anytime. If they're throwing a tantrum or they're tired or something, no, we're out of there. I'm sorry, the topiary isn't enough to make us stay at night to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it is just extra magic, and I can't fault them for that. Every now and then they'll add something, and I'll go, wow, you did that for no reason. And I love that. I mean, like that extra bit of surprise and delight, I think, Stephanie, is what that's called. So I'm excited that this exists. I would like to see more of this. I like projection mapping when it doesn't replace something else. If you're not replacing an animatronic with projection mapping or animatronic's face with projection mapping, then, if you're just adding it to plus something out, then kudos, that's an awesome thing. Very excited about that. Let's go on to Easter offerings because it's almost that time. March 31st is the beginning of Easter, or it is Easter, and they've already begun doing some things like the Eggstravaganza Easter egg hunt with the new map and prizes. They've also got a new set of pins, and then this is one of my favorite things: is when they put the eggs on display at the deluxe resort. So it's at the Yacht and Beach Club. We also have it at Contemporary, and then one of my favorites is the Grand Floridian. And I know, Stephanie, this is always also a favorite of yours. Are you excited about what you've seen so far?
Absolutely. We're planning to be there this week, and we're going to go around and look at all of those displays because it's something that I too absolutely love. I love the creativity because it's the cast members that get to do it, and some of them are really phenomenal. They're not chefs themselves necessarily, but they do a wonderful job. And I love to see the different characters that they come up with, different how they utilize the egg, that is, to be the different characters. And I really liked, I do the scavenger hunts. I've done the Olaf's Adventure scavenger hunt during the Festival of the Holidays. I like that they're handing out those little charms this year, although I do miss the character Easter eggs that they used to give out in the past because I like to display those at my house. So I wish that they would bring those back as well as a prize, but those are cute. I like the little pins.
I agree. I feel like did anybody see the one for the spike hunt, which goes on at the same time? It's like a finger cornhole. It's what? Like
That's weird.
yeah,
It's like the size for American Girl. I don't know. I have daughters and they have American Girl dolls, but that's what like the size of it for.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I used to love getting the little eggs, and it would have been neat if that was a tradition. Like, I don't think you needed to change that. You have thousands of characters. You could just change which eggs you were doing every year, and I would be more into this idea of I have to get there and get the new eggs or get one of the other ones. I think that's cool. If is this on your list, Patrick, when you go down?
I don't think it'll still be up when I go down. I mean, I'm 5 days after Easter. It should start to be packed up by then. I'm not expecting to. I love this stuff. This is the kind of things that we really get into. A silly little prize that even though you feel like you're getting it for free because you finished, you paid for it, but it's so much fun. I appreciate these things. It's a little extra activity to do in the park. That's super cute. That's really, really cute. But if Spike the Bee hunt is out, I'll go hunt some bees. I don't like the way I said that, but
Yeah, me neither. But they also that will continue throughout the Flower and Garden, which is neat because they do the same thing. I think there's something else that they double up on. I think it might be, is it Food and Wine that they double up on, and Festival of the Holidays, that those kind of cross each other. I don't know, but it's kind of neat when they do that. So, yeah. But here's the other thing that I think is interesting. I don't know if y'all would be into this or not, but I probably would. Is this chocolate marshmallow cookies in this popcorn mix? What I like, Stephanie, you're smiling. You wouldn't do this?
No, I'm laughing because I got the one at Christmas. I love that. I ate it for like a week with my kids.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. Let's talk about this. So this there was this article that came out, and there was a survey. By the way, I got my last survey, and I went through it to see if I could find this, and it wasn't in my survey, and that survey sucked. It was just like I hated it. I wanted to bail on it. I'm not even sure I finished it, but so I'm part of the problem. Sorry, but this one, there was a survey out that was asking people. Which of the following statements best describes your preference for riding an attraction such as Tron Light Cycle Run? Such as, I prefer the virtual queue system. I prefer the traditional standby queue system. Not interested in riding an attraction like Tron Light Cycle Run. Well, that's just wrong. Everyone should enjoy riding Tron Light Cycle Run. This is one of these things that starts a conversation, I feel like. And we had someone respond in a chat maybe a week or two ago saying that they didn't understand Genie Plus and therefore they didn't buy it. And it is complicated. I have a friend who's there now, and I've been his like phone a friend over like this entire week to make sure that he's having a good time and doing the right things. Because if he wakes up in the morning and he wants to ride Cosmic Rewind, he doesn't necessarily know that he has to have a virtual queue and he has to get on there at 7 a.m. to get it. And so then he misses that. But then I told him, oh, there's a way to pay to do it. And he's like, oh, I'll throw money at that because this is the only time I'm going. And so then he does that. So there's virtual queue, and there are only two things at virtual queue right now. And by the way, Guardians has had it for the longest time of any attraction. I crunched some numbers on that. So Rise opened around COVID, and they stopped doing it in September of 2021. Remy opened in October of 2021. They stopped in January of 2022. Web Slingers opened in June of 2021. They stopped in November. And Guardians opened May 2022, and still almost 2 years later is still on virtual queue. Tron opened up in April, and they're asking the question specifically about Tron. So for me, and I pitched this to my wife, and she's like, I would rather not have to wait in line. I was like, that's called Lightning Lane. That is not virtual queue. Virtual queue is you're from that family from Poughkeepsie that's never been before. You show up and you go, I'm going to ride Tron today. And you go to the Magic Kingdom, and the cast member goes, stop. You either have to pay to ride this ride, or you had to have logged in at 6:55 this morning to be able to get on this. So I just want to open this up to you guys. And Patrick, I'm going to start with you, and let me know, what are your thoughts on how confusing all this is, and how do you feel about the virtual queue system? I don't know that it's all it's cracked up to be.
It's incredibly confusing. I mean, I work on this network. Part of my major hobby is Disney stuff, and I still get confused. So do I need a Genie Plus, a Lightning Lane? Is it Disney Plus? Is it Wi-Fi? I don't know. It was so much simpler, and they made it more complicated, and they took a system that they could have just monetized. If this was all about money, which it almost always is, we could have just monetized FastPass in its existing form. It was MaxPass. It worked in Disneyland. I think the virtual queue is fine. I wish it was an all-the-time thing. I would virtual queue like, hey, I'm going to tap my Magic Band. I see the wait, boop, and then I can come and get in line at that time. It would make a lot more sense because I would be out in the park eating, drinking, spending money. Genie Plus, Lightning Lane is not the answer, but again, I think this should be the tagline of the show is I'm part of the problem. I buy Lightning Lane and I buy Genie Plus because it's going to maximize my trip. And I go on, I go 3 times in a year, and once every 2 years, I do that 3-time trip. I want to get the most out of it. I want to have the best time. If I miss something, I miss something. I'm not that upset. But if there's something I need to do, I'm going to make sure I get it done. And throwing a few bucks at that problem, you stay within your budget, you're good.
Yeah, Piano Rob's in chat and says everyone would want to ride Tron at night, and it might be crazy. And you know what? The deal has always been with the Disney attraction is that if you're in line before the park closes, then you're going to go through, right? And so if the line is from Tron out to the Skipper Canteen, I get that could be a problem. But I wonder, and Stephanie, maybe you can shed some light on this one, or how you feel about it. I wonder if the fact that they put it up on this pedestal of the only way in is virtual queue is really making more people sign up on it every time than they probably would. Like maybe people don't want to ride it, but they feel pressured to get the virtual queue, or do you think I'm off on that?
No, I think you're right, because otherwise, what if you get there and you say, "Oh, I do want to write it," and this is your only opportunity, and so you're waking up at 7 a.m. to get in line. I've told everybody this before because I have a terrible record with trying to get in line with the virtual queues or the boarding groups. I just can't, for whatever reason, my phone's slow. I can't get it. So I am not a fan of that by any means. Now, I bought Genie the last time I went, Genie Plus, that is, and I did Lightning Lane, not for Tron, but I did it at Animal Kingdom for Expedition Everest. And long story short, I got into traffic and couldn't get there, and I missed my window, and so it disappeared. And because I missed my window, I wasn't allowed to go back in because I had already selected my window and do it again. Even though I paid for it, I still wasn't able to go back and do it. So that is my big beef with paying for Lightning Lane on the Genie Plus.
Well, I actually when Guardians changed at Christmas the first time, I bought Lightning Lane for all four of us, and then my wife was like, "Nah, I don't want to go." Because it made her sick that, and I was like, really? And I started thinking, could I pass as her if I like swap my
Right.
band out and tried to ride it again? I don't know. So anyway, let's before we finish this one up, I do want to acknowledge we have a super chat, and it is from Billy Batson 22. I love a good superhero reference. And so it says, ParksCenter is my Sunday night guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure? There's no guilt here. There's no guilt. This is all good. Appreciate you all so much. Oh, I forgot that. Yeah. But thank you so much, Billy Batson 22. Really appreciate the kind words and the super chat as well. Thank you for that. Desi, I'm gonna let you finish this one off as the local ish. How do you feel about virtual queue, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, and good old fashioned standing in line?
I'll go ahead and be controversial and say I would prefer to have the virtual queue because I don't want to stand in line and I don't want to pay for it. So just give me the virtual queue. I'd rather wake up a little early. I mean, the kids are probably going to wake me up that early anyway, so I might as well get on, book my virtual queue. The only thing that I dislike about the virtual queue is if I'm too quick on it, then oh man, now I got to hurry up and get everybody ready and out the door because I live, 2 hours away.
That's what I was thinking about when Rob was talking about everybody would want to ride Tron at night. Me too, because first of all, I don't want to get up early on my vacation, and I've already had to get up to get in the virtual queue. But I had exactly that happen, whereas I got boarding group 1 for Tron, and I looked over at my son. I was like, well, crap. now we got to get up and go to the Magic Kingdom earlier than I wanted to. We thought get up at 7, go back to sleep. What time do they open? 9 o'clock. Well, we're already in trouble. And then you get there, and I think they've been a little bit more lenient. But I think again, to Piano Rob's point, there is that they don't want people waiting to the end of the night. Guardians, they'll let you do that. I mean, I've heard of people being 500 minutes late, and they go through. But not on Tron, and I think that's probably because the queue is going to get longer and more problems as the night goes on. So, again, I will continue to talk about virtual queue and update you guys if for some reason they drop it. But there's something else coming this summer. We're gonna have Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Is that going to be virtual queue? I assume. I mean, Splash Mountain wasn't, and it had the same line. So will that be virtual queue? Will that be paid Lightning Lane? If that's paid Lightning Lane, are they going to drop paid Lightning Lane from Snow White? I mean, from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? I don't know.
Didn't they come out and say that they were only going to do one paid Lightning Lane per park? No, because they have 2 at MK right now. Yeah.
They have 2 at MK, yeah. But originally it was 1 per park. It was Radiator Springs Racers and Rise, and then Rise, Flight of Passage. For a while, it was Ratatouille until Guardians opened, and they moved it to Guardians. But I mean, I feel like we could be looking at 3 at Magic Kingdom before too long. So keep an eye on it. Let's talk about this because I think we all love Carousel of Progress, right? Like that's like our favorite thing. Maybe not favorite thing, but it's one of those traditions. It's from the 1964 World's Fair, and you want to check it out when you go. There's usually not a long line, and it's kind of neat to see. Well, there are some people that had a very interesting time because only the John soundtrack was playing, and this could not be funnier. And I don't know that I could play the audio here from it, but he wasn't moving, and no other voices were heard. And so the entire show was shut down except for John. And it was my favorite thing where he's like Sarah keeps interrupting him. And it's so not 2024, but Sarah keeps interrupting him, and he looks at the dog and says, stop interrupting when Sarah's interrupting, but no one else is talking. It could not have been like a better place for this to happen. I mean, this is the one time, Patrick, where I feel like, it's not such a bad thing. It was entertaining that it went down. But if this is your first time seeing this, that would have been that sucked.
They need to put Carousel of Progress down for a significant refurbishment and fix it. I imagine they're afraid to do that because there's a crowded section of the park over there and that eats people for a significant period of time. But it has been in bad shape for 4 years. I mean, coming out of COVID, it just hasn't been as loved as it should be. That attraction should be like kept tenderly as a small baby. Just love it and dote on it and just treat it right. For God's sakes, it's a historical landmark. Like,
I know, right?
This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen.
The people at Disneyland are probably like, we gave this to you, and you're letting it fall apart. I mean, John's hand falls off once a month or something like that. Stephanie, I mean, would this be something where your family, because of how often you go, would your family just laugh along, or would this traumatize your children?
I don't. Maybe if they saw his head fall off, I don't know. But no, I love this ride. I agree with Patrick. I second everything he says. They need to show it love. They need to preserve it. Like you said, it is a historical thing, so they need to preserve it and do it right. And they use it for space whenever there's a severe storm. They just shut it down and let people come in and sit in the theater. So they're not. It's not like they're letting it be operational constantly. They do shut it down occasionally. So they can put it down and they can, do the maintenance that it so desperately deserves. And there's Mary Poppins Robins in it, so of course they have to preserve it.
Yeah, for sure. The robins in the window were in Mary Poppins. That's correct,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Desi, before we go on?
I encourage anyone to go watch it. It's hilarious. I just thought it was so funny. Just the specific lines that he was saying by himself with no other context. It's just, it's very, very amusing. Please do yourself a favor and go check it out.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if I played it without the volume, all you would see is basically John doesn't move. That's not going to be funny. So you could check it out, wdwnt.com, and check out the video for yourself. The TikTok, it has like 234,000 views. So I'm sure that a lot of that is because of us drawing attention to it, but who knows? So the last topic before we move on to March Madness is about the Magic Keys. So the Magic Keys went on sale again. I don't know how much most people know about the Magic Key program, but it is the annual pass program in Disneyland. I know we have a lot of Disney World watchers on the show, but it is the Magic Key is the annual pass program because they wanted to change it so drastically, just like Fast Pass to Lightning Lane. They sunset being an annual pass holder, and they introduced the magic of Magic Keys. And when they opened them up to everybody, they sold out very quickly, and then when they originally opened them up, they still had some that were not blocked dates, but then there was a lawsuit. So I find the timing not accidental about the fact that the lawsuit that they have finalized settlement on March 4th, and then on March 5th they resumed Magic Key. Is that a coincidence? I don't know that is. And then on March 6th, the Imagine Key, which was for the Southern California residents, the Imagine Key was sold out already. So, I mean, it's a weird thing about the inventory on that. I'm not really sure how I track the inventory on that one, but the prices on these things are just insane, and there's none that don't have blockout dates. So an Inspire Key is $16.49, a Believe Key is $12.49, and an Enchant Key, which are all the three that are left, are $8.49 for an Enchant Key. And I think basically an Enchant Key you get in like 6 days out of the year. It's something ridiculous like that. But I was able to get a Magic Key last time, and they sold out almost instantly. Then they held for the settlement, and then they've opened them up again. What are your thoughts on this, Stephanie?
Well, I think that it was, first of all, very good that the woman that brought forth the suit, I mean, kudos to her. I think she was right in saying that they were basically advertising no blackout dates, and that because of the the park pass situation, it basically was a blackout. So I think she was right to bring that. I think it's funny that they now say when you sign up for a Magic Key that you cannot be involved in a class action lawsuit, and you waive that right. So okay, for Disney, good for you. But yeah, I don't know. You'd have to get Allison back on to ask about the settlement. I feel like it probably wasn't enough per person that had this happen to them. So I don't know. I feel like Disney could do better.
I'm actually a little upset about the settlement because the original pass that I had was no block dates at all. And to make it so you could not sue in the future, they had to add blockout dates to the highest level. So the Dream Key was the highest level. They sunset that one because, again, you can't say, oh, well, the Dream Key is different now. So they came up with the Inspire Key, and that one has blackout dates. So you can't go like, I think it's July 4th and maybe not July, but like Christmas and Thanksgiving or around that time, there's some blackout dates. So they put them in there because of this lawsuit. So now you can't, there's not one high enough to not have any blackout dates. And it seems like that's a lot of money to still be blocked out a couple days. The settlement, for those of you that were interested, was $67.41 per person. Disney, they were like, bad Disney.
Right.
$67.41 per person. I had a Dream Key. Can't wait to get that check. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to buy. I mean, I could
popcorn
buy,
buckets. We all know what you're going to buy, bro.
I could buy 2 popcorn buckets.
You're just going to give it back.
This is not incorrect. All right, so let's move on to March Madness. So the fun thing about March Madness is that, first of all, I think legally we shouldn't be saying it. That's the first thing. Secondly,
yeah, no, definitely. We say it a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're like, meh. It's just we're fine. It's fine. It's Disney. We're fine. So the second thing about it is that I love this event. It was something I was a fan of before I was part of WDWNT. I think all of us were. The cool thing about it to me is that I would always find the bracket, share it with the family, and it would be a conversation starter because a lot of them were like, what is the best table service in all of, Disney World? What is the best counter service? What is the best attraction?
Cosmic Rays.
Exactly. And then you get really mad about it. I was watching the other night.
I'm here.
Exactly right. I was watching the other night when you guys were doing it on News Tonight, and I saw somebody in the chat say something along the lines of like, "This year's I wasn't invested in at all, but now I'm just angry." Like, so I mean, it's one of those things where, right. So in the past, again, it's been these weird things where they don't want to repeat. I think it'd be okay to repeat, honestly. I think it would be nice to go back.
My analysis.
A different panel.
I can't wait. I cannot wait, brother. You are. So, but in the past, it's been, again, we're getting stranger and stranger as we're running out of things to do. And so a couple years ago, it was like what is the best attraction that's never been built? Well, how are we supposed to know that? Because it's never been built. And we got schooled on it, and it was some neat information. This year's is the best. I think this is it. The best building, structure, or facade. Could not be more generic and confusing. And so I went back through and was taking notes about what are the rules. Well, there kind of weren't any. And that was the thing, too, is because as the night was going on, the rules kept changing. Apparently, there was some rule about, well, it has to be an individual structure. I think was Tom's only rule, is it had to be an individual structure. And then it was some of these things, well, that's an individual structure, but it looks like separate structures, so that's okay. What? Okay. So a couple of different things, like I know that Eric kept pushing buttons on that one. He's like, okay, so the Muppet building is the old Muppet building when it had a balloon on it, but you said props don't count, and that's not really part of the structure, that's attached to the structure, but then the props inside don't count. But then that's what we love about it. But if the puppets are bolted to the seats, does that mean they're part of the structure? And I mean, so again, the rules were kind of all over the place. But the ground rule, he said, was one single solid structure. And then they started talking about a whole bunch of other things. So there really were no other ground rules. Iconic buildings, facades, and structures. Inside apparently counts.
Hold on.
Iconic. I feel like we started that. Um, yeah. So
Thank
we
you.
drink when we say iconic. But there was a time, and before we get into the main one,
Said it
Desi,
again.
there. I did. Sorry.
I only have one beer.
All right. So this past Thursday was the actual first round, but the Thursday before, y'all spent 25 minutes of live
Yep.
YouTube trying to figure out how to get this from 78 to 64. Tell us about that.
I still feel like there's no reason why the Swan and the Dolphin had to go through when we made other decisions. Like, well, we can't have the Contemporary and Bay Lake Tower, so we got to get rid of one of those. We can't have, the Earful Tower and the Disney Springs Water Tower. We got to get rid of one of those. Why did we need the Swan and the Dolphin? I'm still confused why he was pushing for that so hard.
I don't know,
No
'cause
one mentioned the black squares where the monorail is supposed to go through.
That's true.
What?
Where they were supposed to, the monorail was supposed to go through those hotels.
Please don't take that. That's a long old Disney urban legend.
Anyway, so again, it's building structures or facades. There were some of them that we outlawed, I guess, at the beginning, like the Disney Springs water tower. We couldn't have that one and the Earful Tower because they were both water towers. Okay. I mean, I honestly
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of all over the place. Again, once you kind of zero in on it, it's kind of cool. But Patrick, let me ask you, what are your overall analysis of how the team did? Because I know you wanted Desi to recuse
yourself, Desi,
because she was on the panel.
Nope.
But what are your overall thoughts?
You can't analyze your own analysis. I actually thought it was a really, really good year. Over the years of doing this, we've seen Tom's influence actually wane. It's still amazing when he's pushing for something. All right, I'll go first.
Yes,
he did. Yeah. He did try to bend the rules to benefit himself during this, but I like that the Whigs had a vote. I agree with Desi. We still really badly need a better way to rank these. Our seating is terrible. Nick only brought it up a couple times, and I think it really needed to be said more. We need to focus on buildings that are distinctively Disney. While a lot of Disney buildings draw inspiration from around the world, I want to focus on the buildings that belong, like it's Halloween, belong to Disney exclusively.
And that's something that, again, on that first show where they were trying to narrow it down, Eric brought up, like, would we take away or add points for things that already existed? So again, something that is a recreation of something else, rather than, like you said, something that is originally Disney. And it came up a couple times. I know that the one for the battle for the Little Mermaid attraction, it was about the fact that the Little Mermaid attraction was original, but then there was something with Horizon. We'll talk about some of the closer matchups in a second. I want to get an overall view of this from you, Stephanie. Is this something you instantly went, hey, this is very cool, I totally get it, or you were like, hey, I have questions?
No, I thought I got it at least until I started watching the show. But no, for the majority of the panels, I really appreciated that they all had reasons behind why they picked what they did instead of it just being an Epcot. Love you, Jason. But, I understand. I'm an Epcot girl myself, but and some of those buildings are iconic in their structure and how they look, like Imagination Pavilion.
Okay, so and for those of you who are going, like, didn't we already do this on News Tonight? The original, like, ParksCenter, the very first ones with Pete and Ben and Jill and Allison. It was about, like, the start of ParksCenter was about recapping what they did on March Madness. So it is kind of a tradition, but again, it's what all of us kind of got into this about. This was one of the things that we were always excited to see and give our opinions and share with our friends and talk to people about. And honestly, this is how I found out my kids didn't like Yak and Yeti, because we thought they did. We thought they loved Yak and Yeti, and we were there, and I was like going over the bracket, and we were talking about whatever that matchup was when we talked about table service, and they were like, yeah, we don't really like Yak and Yeti. I was like, how did we not know that? Well, we've gone way too much then. So let's look at this bracket. So the first section here, Cinderella Castle, obviously a #1 seed against the Team Disney building. I know that Sabrina brought up that was a large sundial. Honestly, I remember going in that when I was a cast member, going into that building and seeing the large sundial. I thought that was a cool thing. So it is a very unique building, doesn't exist anywhere else, but there's no way you couldn't pick Cinderella Castle, and that's why that one's a #1 seed anyway. But it got a little weird here. Walt Disney World Dolphin versus the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. Patrick, how do you put a matchup like that together? How do you compare those two things?
How does the Dolphin win? Those buildings are hideous.
Right?
They're straight up hideous. And they're barely Disney property. Oh God, here's the drink. The Swiss Family Treehouse is iconic, and it's distinctively Disney.
Desi, I do like that you said that you would rather sleep in a bed in the treehouse. That was a good one.
I would.
Rather than sleeping in the Swan and Dolphin. The land, some stuff came up about the Germans. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That's
true though. It's accurate.
And then the argument made by Tom that said, well, Japan was on the same side. But when it got into Muppet Vision versus Gertie the dinosaur, this is where things got unbelievably crazy. Because this is the one that's like the hanging chad of the entire thing, is that it was between Muppet Vision and Gertie the dinosaur. And again, how do you compare that? You're talking about a show building versus an ice cream cart. And again, we know it's Gertie. We love Gertie. We made plush of Gertie. Gertie's great. But the original, the Muppet building, he said it could also be what's inside. The inside theming of Muppet Vision is great. You walk in, you've got that ramp up. It looks like there are doors. You come around. It's like a backstage of a dressing room. The inside theater, you've got multiple levels of that. And people were throwing $100 back and forth to try to win this thing. That's how passionate.
$1,000 was spent. $1,000
That's how passionate they were about it. And Stephanie, have you ever been that passionate about Muppet Vision or Gertie?
No. Unfortunately, I do love some Santa Gertie, though. I really do. But I think that Muppet Vision versus PhilharMagic would have been a better matchup, maybe, because they're the same type of show in the sense. But I would have given it to Muppets in that case.
Well, let's get weird again. The PhilharMagic inside is amazing, but we wouldn't have necessarily nominated it because the outside is nothing extremely special.
True.
So that's a good point. Splash Mountain versus the Epcot Fountain, 7-0. Why are we comparing those two things? That's crazy.
Water.
That's what this tournament does. That's what this tournament's about. It's not about apples for apples.
What are you going to say, Jessica?
I still have to say that I think that the Muppets won, and that Tom took in a late super chat just because he wanted Gertie to win. He also said that props didn't count just because he wanted Gertie to win.
That was controversial, yes.
I think that was rigged.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a problem, and that'll come up next week, I'm sure. This is all going to end, by the way, next Thursday night, and then we'll recap it the following Sunday on ParksCenter, and we'll be done right a week before Selection Sunday. How about that? So the other one that I was looking at is the Sorcerer's Hat. How do you guys feel about the Sorcerer's Hat? I know a lot of people hated it, and a lot of people seemed to be sad when it went. Anybody here love it?
My husband did. It still means Hollywood Studios for him, MGM. Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah. Anybody surprised Railroad Station beat the Swan 7-0?
No, the Swan shouldn't have even been on the list in the first place.
Speaking of not on the list in the first place, and Patrick, I'll go to you on this in a second, but Tom said the words like, "I will fight to the death for Restaurantosaurus." That's a strange hill to die on, is Restaurantosaurus.
If he dies, he dies.
Anyway, it won.
Sound like
It,
Dolph
it lost.
Lundgren.
It lost 7-0. Even he didn't vote for it, so it lost 7-0. But it was in the competition. So what were you going to say, Patrick?
I think that this is what makes this beautiful, is that we're fighting all these things that don't really make sense, but a lot of what we do doesn't make sense here. I love the Morocco Pavilion. I think the Morocco Pavilion is amazing. I think putting it in with Tower of Terror is just awesome. There wasn't a whole lot for me to get angry about at this. I think Rob was 2 or 3 years ago he joined the panel. Piano Rob has done a great job. It's what makes us here at WDWNT, and I really appreciate it. But I will say, if the Hallelujah Mountains go any further, I'm going to be real upset.
Well, again, that was a
They're not even
3-hour
a
show.
building.
Right,
Or
exactly.
facade.
That was a 3-hour show. We're a 60-minute show, so I'm going to try to keep this to 60 minutes tonight. So I want to go around and wrap this up with a bow. Starting, we'll go clockwise. We'll start with Stephanie and work our way around. Here's what I want you to do, Stephanie. I want you to tell me either one thing, two things. One is a thing you thought was an upset that shouldn't have been, like something that went away that shouldn't have gone away. The second is what you think will go all the way. So if you guys can start thinking about that.
So I am sad that my precious Grand Floridian is gone. You know,
Mm.
it was because of what
I voted
what
for
it was
it.
up against, but I was sad for that. And mind you, if it was the original state of the Grand Floridian with the orchestra and that stupid bar is gone, like absolutely that should have stayed. But yeah, I think that Cinderella Castle has to win it all.
Okay.
It's
All right.
iconic.
Son of a, oh, good Lord.
Did it on purpose.
And the reason we joked about iconic originally was that it was like the only thing people could describe. What was it?
You said it.
Rides? I know.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was either they were describing rides or ride vehicles. I can't remember which. And they were like, that was the only thing they could continually come up with that year was the I word. And so that's why we jokingly were like, well, we got to drink every time. So anyway, Patrick.
I really and truly hope that Spaceship Earth goes all the way. It's distinctly
Don't say
Disney. Came
Yeah.
close there. I only have a sip
Ah.
left. I think the big upset is going to be how far Leaning Palms goes. I think Tom has recently fallen in love with the water parks, and honestly, because of his love for the water parks, it's gotten me water park curious. I've never been, so I'm excited to go, and I love all the details of these buildings. So I think the Leaning Palm is going to have a nice little run.
Okay. And Desi?
Most people, get water park curious around college, but I
wow.
think
Wow.
I think there is
Wow.
no reason why Leaning Palm should have beaten Expedition Everest. That is such a beautiful mountain. It is a wonderful piece of architecture. You've got to take your thoughts about the ride out of it. That architecturally, Expedition Everest should have beaten Leaning Palm. There is no reason Leaning Palm should have beaten that. I'm still upset about it. It was the one thing I was talking about before the show about how I was upset about that.
Okay. So is that's the one that you think should have stayed in? That's the upset you didn't like.
Yes.
Okay. So
Correct.
what's the thing you think's going to go
And
all the way?
also
We've
the
got-
dolphin.
The Swan and Dolphin shouldn't be. I have so many issues with both those, but Stephanie said Cinderella's Castle, or Cinderella Castle, and Patrick said Spaceship Earth. So what's the thing you think is going to go all the way?
I mean, knowing Tom, knowing this group, it's going to be neither Cinderella Castle nor Spaceship Earth, even though those two absolutely should be the top two. It's probably going to be something ridiculous like Gertie the dinosaur that goes all the way for no reason.
How dare you?
I love Gertie, but if we're supposed to be talking about the exterior and the interior into account, I'm sorry, but Gertie's interior, not good.
It's full of ice
I've looked in
cream.
the window.
It's full
It
of
is
ice
But
full
cream.
we're
of
not
ice
supposed to
cream.
be taking the food into
Just
account.
like me.
Yeah. I don't agree with the Muppets going out. because again, I think if you're talking inside the building as well, there are multiple things inside that building that make it special and unique, and the I word. And so I think like, and he was like, well, props don't count. Okay. So a net full of Jello doesn't count, or the key under the mat doesn't count. But that whole experience is just amazing to me from beginning to end. And so I wish that had stayed. But honestly, I think that probably Spaceship Earth to me is the one that should win, because it is very unique, very distinctively Disney, very freaking, it's iconic. It's iconic. I'm going to say it. There's, it's just, I know, I'm sorry. But, I would love to hear afterwards if y'all want to tell us in the chat afterwards what things that you guys think shouldn't have disappeared from this, and the ones that should go all the way. But Desi, I will say to you that I think that if the pressure gets to these folks, and you're one of them, Gertie or Horizons could go all the way. They could.
Here's the thing, though.
Patrick, don't knock me off. I mean, we're not talking about common sense.
Tom was against the Millennium Falcon because he said, it's a static spaceship. Okay, well, guess what the building of Horizons is? It's a static spaceship. And his argument for Horizons was, look at it. It's a spaceship.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about that one, but that's the one that, again, I'm the Star Wars fan in the family, but that's the one that my wife is like, that she said it will never not take her breath away when she's in Black Spire and she comes around the corner and she sees the Millennium Falcon. And so I think that it is one that could go all the way, but then you get back to the whole, is it original, or is it, is it a recreation of something else? Well, it's a recreation of something that was in a movie that Disney didn't own, but now they do. I don't know. But again, like I said, it's a lot of fun.
I wouldn't have let it pass the Empress Lily. Honestly, the Empress Lily is awesome. I love the Falcon. I'm drinking out of a Leia glass. I love Star Wars, but the Empress Lily is tremendous and has so much more theme park history than the Millennium Falcon.
But again, what's the criteria? Is it nostalgia? Is it history? Nick did a very bad thing, but when we were talking about nostalgia, but again, is it the history of it that makes sense? And I think that somewhere, it may have been Tom said it, it's got to evoke an emotion, and is that the thing it does? And if that's the thing, then it should be Spaceship Earth or Cinderella Castle, because when you walk into the park, you go, I'm home. And also with the Millennium Falcon, Chewie, we're home. Same thing, either way. So again, I love that we get to do this every year and talk about it, and it's a ParksCenter tradition. So thank you guys for staying along with us on that. We did go a little bit over, but just like a Southwest flight, we'll make it up to you on the next one. So thank you guys for being on tonight. Thank you so much for everyone watching. We will be back next Sunday night with another ParksCenter. Don't forget, well, wait a minute. Don't forget that we've got Deep in the Plus coming up this Wednesday night. Last week, Patrick and I did Onward. This week, we're doing You Lucky Dog. I know everyone's shocked we haven't done that one already, but here it is. We're doing You Lucky Dog for Patrick's Day, or St. Patrick's Day, same thing. And then Home on the Range, followed by Stephanie is going to be coming on talking about Rookie of the Year just in time for opening day. Very excited about that one. So thank you for that. And again, a big shout out, as Patrick said, to our WIGS members. We love our WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Where's those hearts? There they are. I wish my camera did that just like Desi's does. But thank you guys so much for being members of the WDWNT family. If you want to learn more about that, it's our Patreon program. You can go check it out at patreon.com/WDWNT. Some of our WIGS members get a post show after this for ParksCenter, and we will be doing that next. So please, if you are one of our WIGs, stick around for the post show. If not, again, hopefully we see you for Deep in the Plus Wednesday night. If not, we'll see you next Sunday night for another ParksCenter. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time. That was aggressive. I love that.